We heard you for a second before.
Amazing. Hi,
It's alright, no
everyone.
black people never stop.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another live panel discussion. Tate is just getting his camera situation prepared right now, but I just want to say thank you guys so much for joining again. If you guys just want to, again, introduce yourself to those that are new, those that are old, and, also say your social media handles. Whoever wants to go first.
What's going on? My name is Schwartzen. Y'all can follow me at Instagram at Schwartzen underscore 828. I'm a spoken word artist out of Staten Island, New York, and I'm here to listen to the facts and what Sister Moyo got going on. So thanks for having me again, Moyo.
Of course, no problem. All right, who wants to go next? Chanel.
I can go. Hey, my name is Chanel. My Instagram is queen underscore Chanel P. Um, that's pretty much it. I here with Moyo to talk and learn some facts. That Moyo always got the facts and discuss whatever we're talking about today.
Okay, Tate, are
I'm
you
back.
perfect?
Oh,
Hallelujah.
My
perfect.
bad. Yo, right, I've been having some technical difficulties. I'm gonna fix my joint again, but I just want to introduce myself. I'm Brandon Tate, whatever you want to call me. Went to school with these two lovely ladies right here. Just met my man Schwartz now. If you want any information, follow my social media. Sui underscore generous Tate. So SUI underscore GENERIS underscore TATE. And just trying to right now build up some followers and stuff like that, trying to be an influencer, trying to do a lot of different things, have like our own music podcast, trying to do a lot of different things coming up in the future. But right now, focused on right now, making sure this panel is amazing. So my apologies for that. Trying to get myself together right now.
Amazing. So yeah, that is my panel. Okay, so let's just jump right into this episode and start talking about our stuff and our thoughts. So in this episode, for those that hadn't gotten a chance to watch it just yet, a brief synopsis is I basically talked about the way Black women were viewed and depicted, and the creation of the Black woman in media. And I also gave I gave stats and facts about the effects that has on a Black woman's ideology, mental health, the way she views herself, the whole shebang. So now let's jump right into the questions, right? Okay, so given what you guys now heard from the episode, did you ever think the way Black women were viewed went so far as back to pre-slavery times? Like we're talking like the 1600s, the 1700s, like early colonization times with, white folks colonizing Africa. Anyone can jump in first.
I ain't surprised, but did I know? Not no. I can't say that my knowledge and education went back off that far back, but I'm not really surprised. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
Moyo, you and I like talk about these things all the time and how women are portrayed in media and how all this other stuff that's going on now is definitely goes back all the way as far as slavery times. The way that we're seeing that we're supposed to behave, the way that we're supposed to carry ourselves, all these things. I think it's not for me. It's not surprising that it goes back to all this time. There's always been like rules, and women have to do certain things, especially Black women, to be seen as wife material or as a person that's worthy and not just like the Jezebel character that you spoke about in the video.
Yeah. Sure, what about you?
Yeah, this is my first time hearing it from a black woman's perspective. Like I took an African American lit class, African American history that was taught by a white female. And so,
Mm.
like to kind of hear from your side, like I said, like I told you last night, it was like it was eye opening because I didn't take classes that really embodied what it is that you captured, that you illustrated and portrayed in your video. And if you ain't watch it, please go back and watch it because you need to be put
Most
on. That's the
definitely.
facts for real, for real.
So given what you guys know now, do you think it's important for these type of things to be, integrated into school infrastructure? Because if a white woman is teaching something like this, I think it should be smart knowledge to have these kind of facts, presented to the student like, oh, by the way, this is also an effect of colonialism, the way white men kind of sexualized and stripped down African women even before they stole them from their land? Like, do you think that should be part of school curriculums?
Yes, 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 1000% yes. And the reason I say this is because even in elementary school, whatever, if I think we had this conversation too before, that if a little girl, like wearing a tank top or wearing this, if it's a black girl, it's already clipped, like, oh, you're getting attention. But if it was like a little white girl, it's like, oh no, it's cute, whatever. Same with Instagram, when we was talking about the Instagram post, that it was like one little girl, she's white and she's able to, like, oh, this is cute, this is fashion. And then and the next girl, she's dark skin, and then everyone's like, you too grown, you acting grown, da da da, whatever, all this stuff. So it's like, I think that it's important to have that and teach those things in school and teach the difference, because even teachers themselves would go and stereotype based off these things of like, it's a kid, where you were talking about sexualizing children. It's like, she's a child, she's hot, she want to be in a tank top. Okay, but if it's distracting to boys,
Yeah.
but if it's a little white girl, all of a sudden it's okay, and that's not right.
It's perceived as innocent, which,
Exactly.
child, that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. But the thing for me is that when it comes to teaching it, I feel like it should be taught, but at the same time, I also am realistic in the reality that it won't. Because for it to be taught, there have to be an acknowledgement of, yes, slavery continues to be prevalent to this day. And white folks like to dust it under the rug a lot. So I feel like as much as it is important for Black women to know the origin of why they're viewed the way they are viewed and the way they are presented in media, I also feel as though with this country especially, they're not going to do that, because that's just them having to take accountability again for things that they've done to kind of damn Black women in a sense. But yeah. Moving on to another question, and this is for both, like for everyone on the panel, male and female. What was the moment you realized your Black body was for the white gaze? And to the guys, when did you realize your male body was for the white female gaze? Especially going to PWI Tate, and Schwartz as well. Like, what was the moment you realized, if there was a moment for you?
Okay, we don't. I can answer it, but actually, to be honest, it might sound crazy, but I realize it from both perspectives, men and women. Being a college athlete, realizing that I played for white coaches, and I played football all my life, and most of being coached by white people, and most things being owned by people who are white, and realized that even my body, just as an athlete, was for white entertainment when it came to how they progressed in their careers, and just how my play can affect a lot of white men's power, like positions, because of the coaches and the status that they've like held up in sports. And when it came to women, when I got to college, being at a predominantly white institution, playing football, being one of the few men of color on a football team that's predominantly white, you got a lot of attention straight from just my body and just my athleticism along. So going to a predominantly white institution, instantly realized my Blackness, and how it affected my peers that did not look like myself. So to answer both, I got it from both perspectives.
And before anyone else answers, I want to add this, like, segue to it. How did that make you feel, if you had a feeling to it?
Okay, so maybe it wasn't so much. I got a full feeling of it once I got to college. The year prior to going to Ithaca College, I went to another predominantly white private school in Massachusetts, where it's one of the top prep schools in the country. And there it was even more of a thing, but it wasn't. I didn't feel it as much, I guess, when I got it to another magnitude of going to college. And at first it really wasn't much, because I guess subliminally throughout my entire life, certain things, certain cues were always given up. And it wasn't until I guess I was fully aware. But it really, in a sense, it was like, I'm here at a predominantly white institution. There's not much I can do about it. And I guess I didn't really let it get to me, in the sense that I'm just going to navigate. And again, fortunate enough, I had spaces where I met, Chanel and Moyo and so many other people of color where I could identify with and, get out of those spaces. So again, when I was a part of Brothers for Brothers, my very, very young, my freshman year, automatically kept some bonds with some people. So I really didn't let it affect me, but I definitely was well aware of like how I was viewed in other communities on campus.
Gotcha. Anyone else?
I'll add on to Tate as being an athlete, someone who's recruited. from an inner city to go to a PWI. I went to a PWI in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and so majority of athletes were black, were black athletes, and for both men and women. And so like at the parties, like at the freshman and sophomore, like it was kind of cool. Like I guess think about it, thinking back at it now. Now I'm I'm older and all that. At 18, 17, 18, 19, it was kind of like when the a white girl come up to you and like start touching you on your muscles and all that. It's kind of like what I'm saying, like your boy hit you like, yo, what I'm saying, go and do that. What I'm saying, like just because it's the college culture, it's fun and things like that. I guess at the time I didn't really understand it. I became the Black Student Union president at like in my junior senior year. But as a young college freshman, I was just in it to have fun and all that. And so I didn't really think of it as a gaze kind of thing or prize or possession. Me and my boys used to like make fun of like sometimes the white men would tell their daughters to stay away from black guys because they gonna get you pregnant and things like that. And it's like, okay, now they're away at college, kind of like, well, screw what daddy say and things like that. And that's kind of what we talked about in locker room talk in that sense. But of course, I understand. I got a better understanding of it now. But at the time, it was kind of like, and I still got no fellas that's in college. I still kind of got that same repertoire. I'm trying to educate them. I put them on the video and everything. But it's still to this day, it's still like, if you black, you athletic, you kind of like you sexualized as well.
Yeah.
From the male and female.
Chanel, do you have anything to say?
Honestly, like I didn't feel it personally. Well, yes, I didn't feel it personally because at least in Ithaca, like the white guys, at least for me, was just like not it wasn't not it, but they was like not looking at black girls.
Yeah.
They, at least for the most part, it was like they stayed with the white girls or whatever, and then it's kind of like the which you kind of talked about in your video, like the white girls then having the bodies like the black girls and things like this and paying for them. So it's like they have the best of both worlds without having to commit to the black girl, have the kids with the black girls and stuff. So, and having that like ghetto mentality. I have like spoken to white men, and you hear like the little stuff that they say, like you said, of like, oh, I never been with a black girl, I never done this or whatever, and it's just like it makes you feel like low-key disgusting.
Yeah.
Like you're really just seeing like nothing. Like you don't feel like nothing. You're just like, okay, well, at the time you're just like, okay, well, you're the next person. But it really makes you feel like really low when people see you just as what your body is, and not even because of like, oh, I'm physically attracted to you, but because of a fetish, because you want to try something that's different, that doesn't look like what you're so used to in your little hometown with just white people or whatever. You want to be like, okay, let me try something new, as if it's like, let me try an ice cream flavor.
Yep.
And I don't think that like it just makes you feel like you're not worth something. But obviously, we're Black queens, so we are worth more than that. But like it really makes you feel like that until you know like yourself and what your worth is. It just makes you feel like another piece of something that they're trying to get.
For me, oh my gosh, like for me, just like a lot of people, it didn't really hit me until college, because growing up, for those that didn't know, I was raised in Europe. So I lived in like white suburbia Europe, and I was a kid. It wasn't really like race wasn't something that really hit my mind. It was more of like, oh, I'm Nigerian, you're Irish. That was it. But when I was in Australia last year, because in Ithaca, I was not messing with no white dudes. I'm sorry. Y'all were not the flavor of the month, the year, or anywhere. But when I was in Australia, funny enough, I had an interaction, and that's what I'm going to call an interaction, with two different types of dudes. One was from Germany, sweet dude, and the other was an Aussie. And for my other friends, they didn't have, keep in mind, my other friends were like Asian as well, but they were white passing Asians. And the way the Aussie would kind of pan after Black women was very different from the way he would treat the white passing Asians. Like I remember, and he don't watch the show. I don't see his name. I don't care what he gonna do. His name was Anthony, right? And the first time I met him through a mutual friend that I met in Australia, and she's Ethiopian. And so when she would tell us about him, like she would like the first thing she would mention was how his ex-girlfriend was black. And I'm like, okay, what else is there about him? And she's like, that's it. He talks about, black culture a lot, and he knows so much about black culture. And even when she like mentioned me, like casually in the conversation, like, yeah, my friend's Nigerian, he knew so much about Nigerian culture. And I'm like, what does this dude do? Sit down, just memorize like African histories and facts or whatever? Like, what does he do? And then I was very afraid to meet him because I'm like, Lord have mercy, I hope this boy does not try to sexualize me. And we finally met at a Black Lives Matter protest. Keep in mind, I originally thought he had a crush on my friend Bethel, who's the Ethiopian, because the way he would pen after her was very much, I like black girls and black girls only. Like, he said it. He was like, I mean, I could date a white girl, but they're just not as interesting and not as fun or like having as much flavor as a black woman. And I'm like, flavor. I mean, you're not wrong, but okay. A little bit of a red sign. And then when I finally met him, the things he would say, the way he would look at me, almost as if my body was something for him to appreciate. And it was in that moment that I was like, okay, I can see you looking at my body in the way of it pleasing you. Meanwhile, the other guy I met who was German, it was never that interaction with him. He was just a good dude. He didn't care much about those sort of things. So for me, I realized that like, depending on the type of person the man is, depends on the way they're going to view my body and believe certain stereotypes about my body. And it was in that moment that I realized that like, depending on my environment is how my body will be viewed for the gays. If I'm around like a guy who's like, if I'm around like the German guys, then they might just view me as a regular human being. But if I'm around like Anthony's kind of friends or Anthony's kind of people, my body would just be for their gays and their gays only, and they would believe the idiotic slave mentality stereotypes. And I'm just like, cool. But yeah, that was my experience. Okay. Second question. Has not seeing yourself in the media caused you any insecurity or any mental illness in any way? If so, how? And this goes for everyone.
I would say for me, I grew up watching like Spanish soap operas. That's obviously like my house. I was like, I wasn't allowed to watch TV in English for a very long time unless it was cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
My friends make fun of me for it, but it's okay. Because my grandma didn't know English, so she obviously wanted to monitor what I watched, so I'd be watching soap operas. And no one still to this day looks like me. And it was like, okay, if I wanted to be an actress, honestly, like that's super discouraging because they all have like really long, like luscious hair, super light skin, they're white passing. No matter what country they come from, they're all white passing. They're all Spanish, but they're all white passing. And it's like, well, if I wanted to be in a novela, like I would never be able to because of the way that I look. And no matter how talented I would be, even whether it's the movies, the novelas, all of it on Spanish, even the newscasters, all of them white, they all white passing. And so it's like, it was super discouraging. And then my family's super mixed. So some of us are darker, some of us are lighter, like we're literally on top on the whole spectrum of colors. So it's like being darker, sometimes you'd like, okay, well, if these people are the prettiest, and you internalize it yourself when you start seeing. So when I was very young, I would like internalize that, like all these people, they're so pretty, whatever, and I'm darker, so I wasn't pretty. So when I was young, I didn't think that I was as pretty as these other people. Obviously, then I started to learn and grow and like feel comfortable with myself. But it felt more refreshing to see other people that look like me, although there's still a lot of work to do. There's still refreshing to kind of just see even some people that have the same hair as me, the same body type, or different, like just look different, and not just all white people that just have really long hair and is straight all the time.
Yeah. What about the guys? Anyone not look like you on TV?
For what I wanted to do, I've always wanted to. I wanted to be a TV personality growing up, and even Chanel knows it's like my dream job dream career was I wanted to be a game show host at one point,
Okay,
or a
Steve
late night
Harvey.
TV show. You feel me? But like
Right.
that's always been like a dream of mine. But in the realm of it, like a lot of people I looked up to, for example, was Wayne Brady was somebody I looked up to, but he also always got this negative feedback because he's trying to act white or something. So like when I saw him, I'm like, all right, that's a black man, but he has to act white to get where he wants to go. So especially in my earlier days of realizing this is something I probably wanted to pursue, realizing that like on late night TV shows, I don't know any black late night TV hosts off the top of my head. Obviously game show host is so specific, but you know, it's Steve Harvey, but let me think after that. I don't really know. Like Wayne Brady is on a midday TV show, but there wasn't a lot. So 100%, like when you said that question, I identified it a lot. And then me being a television radio major, trying to be an on camera in the communication school at the college, there wasn't a lot of black people trying to be on air. And if it was, they were trying to get into sports because obviously what do black athletes normally associate with? It was sports. So 1,000%, it's been something that I had to realize. But then, and again, it opens up the way that you can be the first, or you can be an inspiration for others. So, and it's the way the perception you look at it. But nah, it definitely affected me in my early days of trying to figure out what I want to do with my life.
Schwartz, do you have anything to add to that?
I mean, I would definitely say outside of rapping and athletics, it was hard. I ain't seen no other representation other than Will Smith. You know what I'm saying? Other than being, you know what I'm saying? Like it was kind of like the superficial was it. And outside of those things, like there was like I'm a spoken word artist. That's poetry, you know, for those who don't understand. Like, you know, there was no poets on national television, you know, speaking like that. There were no writers, you know, there were no the Ta-Nehisi Coates, you know what I'm saying? The authors out there where it was like, okay, this is in your face, this is what you could be. No, and the foster home I grew up in was big on television. So outside of hip hop and you know, dribbling the basketball, football, it was very little exposure. And I think it could have really changed the trajectory because, well, fast forward, I'm an author and I like to do poetry, you know what I'm saying? So, which aren't things that are shown on television.
Yeah. For me, I'm a musical theater major for anyone watching that doesn't know. So not seeing myself in media really, not just not seeing myself, but not seeing a person who had the same body type as me on media really messed up my self-esteem. Because it was like in the media, especially in hip hop, you either see slim thick, and when I say slim thick, I mean augmented slim thick. They barely have organs in their stomach. And for me, I was like, well, I don't look like that, so something must be wrong with me. Especially when, for some reason, everyone just expects that if you're African, you're meant to look in a certain type of way, have a certain type of aesthetic. And when I was doing the research for this episode, and I realized that, like, Black women, we have the highest rate of anxiety and depression, it fully struck me that, holy crap, I am one of those people, and not seeing myself in media caused that in me. And it's like a moment of like heartbreak, but also for me it was calming to know that, like, okay, I'm not alone, because not seeing myself in media kind of motivated me to be like, okay, well, I need to figure out a way to create a media platform for someone like me, hence Black Bonnet series. But I needed to figure out a way to just make other women see themselves in media, because even the fact that all I'm being fed is a certain type of body, like there's no one, and I say this very confidently, but like in media I don't see a lot of dark skinned Black women just have a natural body of, you know, if you have a butt, you have a gut. It's always, no, you have no gut, and then you have a butt. You know what I mean? And it kind of like affects the way that I view myself. Like I remember going through, like I said in the episode, I went through all of my freshman year, sophomore year, even my years in high school, completely depressed because I just felt like there was something wrong with me. The girls in the media were light skinned, or they were white, you know, white passing, and it was like everyone in the media looks so pretty and like the white people love them, and I'm like, if they see me, what they gonna do, boo me, throw tomatoes at me? It was just like a very weird moment that, like, now that I'm 21, I said, child, I'm not accepting that anymore. Not my business. Y'all gonna like this black girl, okay? She gonna be on your TV screens one day, whether you like it or not, okay? She coming. Okay, so let's move to trajectories. Okay. So in the episode, I spoke about how colonizers, when they would ransack Africa for the goods. I spoke about how when they would see African dances, especially African women dancing, they viewed it as something of lust, something of sexual passion, and they used it as an excuse to colonize and steal Africans, and also as an excuse to sexualize the African woman, which now translates to it being like, if you're black, why can't you twerk? So given what we know about the fact that colonizers did this, do you think the Western lens on African tribal dances have corrupted the way people view waist movements, aka twerking, to the Western world? Do y'all get the question? Okay. You want to go first, Chanel?
Most definitely. And I think this is something that pisses me off so much, because it's like, if you go to the Caribbean, everybody's so hyped when it comes to carnival, right? Everybody want to be like, oh, pelt waist, do this, and they see the little kids running around doing this thing because that's our culture. That's what we do. You sexualize it. That is not a sexual act. That is dancing. It's the way dancing for us, and I say us, the Caribbean, Africa, because we come from the same place. That is a way, we use it as communication. Dancing is telling a story, right? All of that comes from a story and what we use being oppressed to communicate with each other. Like even bachata and all these other things like that expand or whatever, they come from literally being, you guys took this stuff from us and we're telling a story the way we communicated, to show passion, to show love, to show that we care for one another, whatever, to have fun, a joyous moment. And people took that joyous moment to then obviously, like they're doing now, and want to always steal our joy. And that's the problem. That's why it pisses me off so much, because it's like, there's nothing wrong with someone just young pelting waist. I don't think that there's anything wrong with it, because that's part of your culture. You're expressing your culture.
Yeah.
Now, but then you see a little girl over here, boom, 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 all this other stuff, a little white girl, and it's perfectly fine. It doesn't make any sense. So I'm like, they sit there with their booty out and all this stuff, and don't sexualize the little white girl, same as I was saying before. But if it's a little black girl, it's the same thing. They're over there playing mask and all this stuff. Now it's a problem. But when you see dance moms, and you see these little girls with no clothes on, and it's fine. Oh, because they're doing contemporary dances, now it's fine. But they have less clothes on than the other girls. That doesn't make any sense to me.
It's funny. It's funny you brought that up, because back to me being Australia again, there was another Aussie that I met, and I think I spoke about this in the episode. So long story short, I was like, you know what? I'm going to share my culture with you and cook you some authentic Nigerian jollof rice, because you don't know spice.
Shout out to jollof.
And so to me and my friend...
I still never had it, Moyo. You're supposed to bring it, but it's cool.
It's all love. It's all love. It's all love. But so it was me and my friend Carol. She's from South Africa. So I was like, no, I'll cook it for both of you guys. We just sit, we'll talk. And so me and Carol were just talking about our culture. And I was like, yo, do you know the song? So I pulled up the song and I started dancing. Here goes Mr. Aussie. Oh, I should probably preface this by saying he real Christian, if you know what I mean. Okay. And so he goes, oh my gosh, Moyo, why are you twerking? And I'm like, look here, you idiot. It's not twerking. It's just a natural waist movement. He's like, no, you're moving your butt in a seductive way. I'm like, you know what? I'll show you the video. So I literally showed him the video of like the entire community dancing this. And he's like, wait, so this isn't twerking? I'm like, no, the Western world calls it twerking. Africans, we call it dance. We call it natural dance movements. You're moving your waist. It's an exercise. That's what you're doing. And he was like, that's just weird. Like, how do you want to do that? I'm like, why not? It's fun. It's weird to you because y'all got 2 left feet. Leave us alone. But for us, that's what we do. For us, this is how we literally praise God. Like, I remember doing these dances in church. Like, we're praising our gods, where it's a way of showing celebration. If a new child is born, depending on like what region or what tribe you're from, or like what village your family's from, it's how you praise God. And it's funny because like yesterday, I think it was yesterday, I literally saw a TikTok. God help white people, of this white man trying to break down how twerking is good for your back. Literally, he sat there, brought up a bunch of science, and is like, so when you move your back in an up and down motion, it helps elongate and stretch out. And I'm like, y'all gonna give yourself scoliosis. Stop doing stuff that God did not put in your culture. Cut it out. Like, you guys view it as sexual. So if it's too sexual for you, don't do it. Let Black folks do what they do best and keep it within their culture and enjoy it. Because for me, it's like, me personally, I sometimes, if I'm not within Black people, I can't feel free to share my culture in that way around white folks, because they're gonna just westernize it and make it seem sexual. But so what do the guys think? What y'all think about that? Is twerking sexual, or is just or is it just the Western lens of looking at it?
I guess I can honestly say, prior to even watching the video, I never thought about it as looking at it from other eyes, because obviously most of the time when things are taking place, I'm around my own people. So kind of taking myself out of my own shoes and my perspective and trying to look at it 100% would agree with this. And then what Chanel touched on, something that was amazing to hear, that there's a lot of contemporary dance that a lot of white people I know that wear less clothes, that move in ways that, if you do in comparison to our people, it doesn't make sense why they're not sexualized the ways we are. So just again, it's like it's the first time really since watching it, like I've had the opportunity to really think about it and think about the effects of how they've kind of took what we do at our people and then thrown this stereotype or throwing this type of negative energy on what we do, just like other things. We probably go on a list of things they've done that with, but it just, thinking about it from another like perspective, lens is just crazy to see.
Yeah. Mr. Schwartzen, do you have anything to add to that?
I came with an open mind with that one as well. I lived in darkness when it came to that, as far as just the dance itself, twerking, things like that was a form of entertainment and things like that. But I have to say, like, that was one of the things that kind of struck out to me. Like, it is a form of expression. Like, the fact that, Black women were dehumanized in that way, like the fact that Black women need to reclaim that, that was one of the things I'm like, dang, that's powerful. That's empowering to know that that's something that, you speak about for us to be educated on.
Mm.
And so I come with open mind now. I respect it. That's very respectful here.
Amazing. Okay. Do you think African American / people from other African countries / our African descendants will ever break free from the image that's placed on us by Western media? Good night. Well,
All right.
well.
Listen, unless CBN about to sign the Black Bonnet series, listen, unless they about to...
Word, nah, I just want to say, I already immediately, like, nah, that ain't happening, to be honest. I'm just being honest. Like, it's so much control that white people have over media that's given to us anyway. If you want to just talk about from all media, political media, to what we see, what we consume. You want to talk about just the people that's in charge. There's only a couple of companies that own everything in regards to everything and how our media is given to us. So nah, I don't see it happening anytime soon. Like, I'm on my man Schwartz, let's get some people in the high up, let's get back Bonnet, some in front of some people's eyes and stuff. But that's only the beginning. Still, we're gonna need about 100 more Black Bonnets across the everywhere in the world, So yeah, nah, I'm just being honest. I don't think so.
Okay. So given that we all agree that we don't see that happening, anytime soon, what is something that we as individuals, as a community, especially Black men, I'm going to give y'all a minute to think about this, but what is something that you can do to help change the narrative for your daughters, your nieces, the black women that you know are around you. I'm gonna let y'all think about that while me and Chanel talk real quick. So y'all take your time to think about that. And the reason I asked that question is because even though, technically this view was placed on black women by white men, a lot of black men have continued to perpetuate this idea, i.e., hip hop. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like everyone's seen Love and Hip Hop at least once, but in every Love and Hip Hop episode, with all these struggling ass female artists, some break free, some be struggling, but with everyone that tries, every single female rapper, air quotes, they all get told the same thing. Get a BBL and then we'll talk. Get a BBL and then we'll talk. So it's not just white men that's placing this ideals on black women. And keep in mind, this image is killing black women. Like, we are having heart disease, our body functioning is, shutting down, and we're depressed. So black men are also perpetuating it. Chanel, do you agree, disagree? What you think?
I agree. I think that us as a black culture, we're definitely perpetuating it because black men are putting that this is what a woman has to look like for you to be fine. That's number one. And same thing with black women. Like, I don't necessarily, but I know black women who would sit there and be like, oh no, she's mad ugly, whatever, because she didn't do her body, or she's mad fat, or this, or whatever. But then be in their face or be on Instagram like, oh, body positivity, but then be shitting on the other girl next to them. And it's like, just because they had an argument, she doesn't like her or something. So it's like, in that case, like, we're continuously perpetuating that, black men and black women, putting it onto other black women of like, why doing that? If we're never, that's why I feel like we're honestly never gonna get it, because even if it was the media and we took that out, right? There was a complete media shutdown, we'd still have that embedded in us from even our parents and their grandparents. So we have to take it upon ourselves to, one, not do that to other women, because forget the black men, we have to do it for ourselves first, for them, and then them also to have our backs in that as well, because like with this whole Black Lives Matter, where like everything was in uproar and we were talking with George Floyd and all this stuff, and everyone is like, well, everybody's in uproar with George Floyd and all this stuff, but then Breonna, no one was talking about her, and everyone was just like, okay, where's she at? But and then everybody was donating and doing all this stuff, and then black women always get left behind, and that's like the issue. And then, so for me, it's just like, I think that we need to do better in terms of uplifting black women, in terms of having black women's back, including black women ourselves. We need to have each other's backs. And instead of catfighting for a guy's attention or for attention in the media, like that's always blown line. If we're fighting over a guy's attention or whatever, somebody that's shitting on both of us, especially if they're shitting on black women and then we're over there fighting for their attention. Like, to me, that just never made sense.
Exactly. So y'all, my boys, do you have your answers prepared? Are you ready, young mans?
Before you even gave me the time.
All right, go ahead. I'm listening.
It all starts simply just by talking. I don't think men have enough conversation between each other about things that are actually really relevant and things that can actually make a change. It starts with the conversations we have with one another and the conversations that we do have, obviously, with our black queens. But yeah, that's really where it comes down to. The basis of it is communicating, and checking each other. I don't feel like enough men check enough men when something goes wrong. It's feel me like if that's my homeboy, he do something wrong, that's still my homeboy, I'm gonna ride with him. I don't think enough people be like checking their people. But I feel like that's another conversation that needs to happen. And I think, again, opportunities like this to have also black men hear from black women. I don't think that we do a good job listening to black women. They definitely are vocal, but I don't think we listen in regards to that as a whole community. So I think it needs to be more conversation between men to men, women to men, and a lot more listening when it comes from the women to men.
Yeah. Schwartz.
I agree with Tate, 100%. That communication been key, but more so being vulnerable and not being afraid to talk about feelings in that manner, because men have them too. And I know, Moyo, I know I've had dozens of conversations with you when it comes to like mental health on the men's side and things like that, and
Mhm.
being open enough to even be real with myself. And I think if men be real with ourselves, once we remove our own plank, we'll be able to see that our queen's been suffering for a long time now, and it's time for us so when I was in college, I read how strong black women were. I seen how strong like black women were with the entrepreneurship. You guys have been killing the game for the last 6 7 years. Like black women are the highest rising class in black entrepreneurship right now, and it has been for like since 2012. And so when I'm looking at all that, and I'm kind of like, dang, where's brothers at? Where's kings at?
Y'all voting for
I
Trump.
see us, and we, all right, so, right.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? Like we out here
oh,
capping, yeah, we doing wild stuff, and I'm like, yo, are we even a safe space for black women to come to? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they go to each other. I feel like y'all more united than we are as brothers and things like that, because we don't have that, like Tate said, that communication, that openness, that vulnerability, that space. But this right here invites us to have that space to be like, yo, share the link, invite a brother, invite a sister, and have those conversations among peer-to-peer conversations, and then we'll continue on with the movement. Because like Chanel said, we was talking about the Black Lives Matter movement. That was like one aspect of probably our lifetimes where we've seen some kind of unity
Mm-hmm.
all together, like not just as people of color, but also where, okay, like now white people are starting to see like, yo, this is
Yeah.
something like even we got to step up now. Now this is the movement kind of died. They like veering off and all that, but we still here. It's still
Mm-hmm.
our problem. It's still
Mm-hmm.
Breonna Taylor's out there that's out there still being taken advantage of and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. And
Mm-hmm.
our queens is still our little girls still suffering and things like that. So we do our part. I believe collectively it's gonna come together. Glory be to God.
Yeah. For me to just answer that question sincerely, I feel like the way I personally can help change the narrative for Black women is through this show, gang gang, and
Let's get it.
also in instilling in my future daughter family members, like my future Black women that I get to interact with and know, instilling in them that like you don't need to let this narrative be your life and let it consume you, especially for my future Black daughter, because I don't want her to feel the pain that I felt growing up. Like going through 5 years of depression and not seeing a way out is not fun. And I feel like instilling in her the knowledge that isn't taught in school, instilling in her that like this narrative of an angry Black woman, a sexual Black woman, the fetish of a Black woman, it all comes from a white man who couldn't control his penis. And that's not a story that belongs to you. It will never be your future, and it's not something that you need to, run with. So I feel like that's what for me personally I can do to change. So yes, that is the show. Do you guys want to just go around and just say your Instagrams and social media handles one more time? If you guys have any like special events coming up, books coming up, this is your time to say it and let people know what you're up to. Anyone want to go
I just got
first?
my Instagram, so we can do Queen underscore Chanel P on Instagram. Follow me. I follow back.
Now the only thing I'm really active on is on Instagram right now too. So like I said, Suai_generous_Tate. Find me on the ads if you need to know how to spell it. But yeah, that's what it is.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm active on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, the whole nine. You can just search me, Schwartzen underscore 828. I'm a vlogger as well. I do traveling. I plan on leaving a couple weeks now for South America, and I plan on vlogging that trip and everything. But also, like Moyo said, I do have a book coming out. It's called The Fallen Man Fantasies. Maybe I'll show it for you next week, the cover and everything. But I do, got some traumas that I've written down and all that, but more so in a story format where it's not just, all just traumatic events, but in like, I'm trying to revamp like Romeo and Juliet kind of thing. It's fictional, but based on some real stuff. So
Okay.
I'll show you. Yeah.
Okay, partner.
Heard you. Right.
You all right, partner?
Also, guys, make sure to get his previous book. Okay, my boy published. He out here with his author skills. But But yeah, you guys can follow me on Instagram at __DAMMY___ and at Twitter at _unapologeticxo. Thank you guys so much again for joining the conversation today at the Black Bonnet Series Panel Live, tongue twister. Nice. And I will catch you guys next week when I talk about the strong Black woman and how it's killing us. So much fun. Yeah. Catch you guys next week. Bye.
Later.